the director and the dean's office, the dean student affairs office for allowing us to hold this event and supporting in all the possible ways to bring it to this scale. I really look forward to organize this year after year so that we can make some recognizable, some valuable mark in the field of yoga. Not only in the field of yoga, but through yoga, we may be able to make our humble contribution to the other fields of knowledge in the contemporary streams. So thanks very much. Over to Ajin, please.
Thank you, Professor Ashish. We are fortunate to have with us Professor Subhasis Chaudhuri, the Honorable Director of IIT Bombay. Professor Chaudhuri is presently the Kamal Nayan Bajaj Chair Professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Professor in charge of IIT Bombay Monash Academy at IIT Bombay. Professor Chaudhuri earned his BTech degree from IIT Kharagpur, MSc from the University of Calgary, Canada, and completed his PhD from the University of California, San Diego, USA. Professor Chaudhuri works in the area of image processing, computer vision, machine learning, and computational haptics. Some of the areas where he has contributed significantly include depth recovery from defocused images, image super resolution, hyperspectral image visualization, and pattern recognition in remote sensing images. Professor Chaudhuri has received numerous awards for his research. These include G.D. Birla Award for Scientific Research, NASI Reliance Industries Platinum Jubilee Award for Application-Oriented Innovation, J.C. Bose National Fellowship, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize in Engineering Science, to name the few. I invite Professor Subhasis Chaudhuri to address this august gathering.
Thank you, Ajinkya. It's my pleasure to be here this morning at the inauguration of this very special conference that YOGASTHA Club of IIT Bombay is organizing. And it's my pleasure on behalf of IIT Bombay and my own personal behalf to invite you all to participate here, to welcome you here. Particularly, we have a very distinguished set of speakers, including Professor Sadbir Singh Khalsa, who is already here on the screen. Similarly, we have other members here who will be joining at a later stage. So it's a real honor for us at IIT Bombay to host them here for the benefit of our own students as well as those of you who have joined from outside the campus. As you all know, that this is the time when we are passing through a very difficult phase in our life all over the world during this pandemic time. Ideally, we would have wanted this conference to be held physically here in the campus, but because of this, we have to go through this process. But at the same time, we are thankful that because of this, it allows the people who are far away to come and join us from no matter where they are. Distance is no longer something which really separates us. So in that sense, we could collect a great number of speakers for your benefit, and you can take it at the comfort of your home. So I would say that please, use this opportunity to learn more about the utility of yoga, and then more so, what are the corresponding scientific research that goes on, so that some of you may find a lot of interest and indulge yourself in promoting, as well as for the, bringing it closer to the heart of more people in the world. So as you know that this is a special initiative of IIT Bombay, particularly with respect to the International Day of Yoga, which unfortunately was this time we had to hold it again through the e-means, but nonetheless, it is something that we all did at home, and this is a continuation of that effort. But I feel that during this particular pandemic time, organization of such a particular conference is very timely, because if you know that the IIT Bombay is a place for STEM education, where there have been a lot of research going on, and we do emphasize the importance of research, which we think can take us to a higher level to get the benefit of any kind of a concept, any technology, or any other new development for the welfare of the people. And yoga is one such, I don't know whether you want to call it technology, but one such method which actually allows most of us for our own internal as well as a collective well-being. Those of us who are probably a little older than many of you who are, listening right now. So at some point, you also have a typical bend of being the philosophy that you wanted to learn, but you could never learn in your earlier time because so much of pressure to learn many other things in your life. Then I must tell you that, one of the great thing that the India has given to the rest of the world is the quintessential question that our forefathers have started inquiring is the one single question, is the who am I? And this is the first and foremost question. Even now, people are all over wondering, and because of that, you realize that actually this I, the connotation, what does it mean? Normally, there is a group, particularly if you start whether it's a Charbak or somebody, you would always think of, it's my body, it's whatever it is, okay? But now with the technology, I think we can selectively, do a little bit of in computer science, what they call it, you can change any part of your body, more or less your heart, lungs, everything can be replaceable, kidney, you have, and somewhere I read some scientist is also trying to change your head also. So if you can get a head replacement, I don't know whether they will be successful. But then what is remaining? Who am I? Then I think that question becomes more relevant. It's basically the parts that make up our body. And so this question always leads us to think there are two aspects of I. One is the inner one. That's what we have inside, okay, which we call Atman or the consciousness, whatever the universal consciousness. Then of course I am not able to connect to that particular great soul, whatever the universal union that we all talk about, our existence. And this particular yoga that we talk about, it takes us that kind of thing where your body, mind, and intellectual, they're all connect together through this exercise of yoga. Now, this has been how it started, but as you know, many of us here are students of science, and if you look at the evolution of science, then there are right now 4 paradigms, it is called that 4 paradigms of science. And the first one, okay, which actually was a time from day one of, let's say, the human civilization you can think of, which is all empirical, or something we call it an observational science. For example, people learned about buoyancy and other things, the scientific thing about how something floats. But that is much later. Archimedes is given the credit for that, right? For how, the Eureka moment. But if you go, people have been actually traveling in boats much before that. So they have been going before. Boat is one of the, the ship or other things that you talk about is much before that. So when somebody observes that this is doable, then you encode it in terms of certain scientific principles. And even in this particular case, so that's how it becomes an empirical. So initially, all of them, we did not know probably anything about how to fly until, let's say, 1900, or, when formally we had the aeroplanes coming up by the Wright brothers. But people know that all these birds and heavy, other things, they do fly. So that means flying is possible. So there must have been some technology. So then, and we have the Department of Aeronautical Engineering here in IIT Bombay, which looks at all these aspects. Okay, so there are then certain sciences which gets developed based on this observation into what we call the theoretical science. Okay, so that's where you develop the theory. That's the second paradigm. And of course, then you have the third paradigm, which is the computational. And the fourth one would be now what you call the data science. Okay, so that's the last paradigm that currently we are talking about. So if you look at bringing from observation into the place where actually you develop certain kind of theory, that yes, if you do certain thing, X, it does give you some benefit or some output in your body, mind, wherever it is. That's why. So if that can be established through scientific process, then that leads to that particular research, and which is the key thing, because we as individual, we must always challenge that the corresponding your statements. If somebody says this is good, okay, this is not good, so we must have that kind of thing inside us to do that challenging scenario. As you know, like probably one of the first person to challenge a lot of such kind of belief and other, and finally he became one of the biggest proponent of Indian philosophy, is Swami Vivekananda himself. He said, oh, I don't believe what you're saying, I must experience myself. So with many of you who are here and young, so this would be the kind of thing that you should be looking at it. You must challenge that, oh, when somebody says that yoga does something for me, this is the benefit. Of course, we, as a student of science, as a student of modern day, we should look into the aspect, get into the research mode, and establish that this is, if you do X, this is what happens to Y. And this is something provable. It doesn't depend on who says that. This is what is actually the outcome of research. I think that's the spirit we are talking about today. And this is what is bringing in yoga with this kind of exposure. When a lot of scientific research goes in, it brings in the credibility that our ancestors long time ago, okay, through their own experience have told us. And we can, of course, we'll be very happy to learn more on that in coming days. And I think right now, this is a good time that we should ponder over this, and we should discuss, and we should probably find out that these are the things which need for the research, for the deliberations, for the benefit of mankind at large. So I hope with that, this particular, the 2-day conference that you have will be very successful. You will get a lot of your intellectual food in this particular conferences delivered to you, which will last you for a much longer time. And we'll also practice some of the yoga techniques, which will be recommended by experts, whether in this conference or outside, and you will make it as a part of your life. And with that, I wish you all good health, because this is the time all of us we need. And I hope that you will enjoy the 2 days of deliberations. And thank you, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhuri, for your valuable insights, and thank you for all your support and encouragement. Now we are proceeding to our first